Well, I'm going to invite Lila back up with me, as well as Sarah Perry, who is a senior fellow here at the Family Research Council, and she is our Common Core coordinator here at the Family Research Council. And guess what we're going to talk about? Common Core. All right, you guys are good.
So what do we do at Sarah? Because I think a lot of folks, especially parents, have been really upset about the federal government coming in and saying this is what you should be teaching children. And tell me a little bit about what you've discovered.
Well, they have a right and a due concern in that regard. This is really what George Will of the Washington Post said, the thin edge of a very large wave of federal intrusion. It has gotten worse since 1968 with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The government is essentially dictating standards that are just shy of curriculum by not telling us exactly what's to teach, but standards that have to align with nationalized assessments, that follow with suggested reading material, suggested approaches, and then eventually this will all align to standardized tests. For example, the GED for curriculum through graduation, substitution. It is going to align with the SAT, the PSAT, and the advanced placement courses as well, which David Coleman, who is the architect, the engineer from which this idea of Common Core sprung, has now taken over the position in the College Board. So we know that all of those standardized tests are going to be core aligned.
And Sarah, when you talk about this moving toward it's just shy of a national curriculum, but in order to accomplish that, we're seeing more and more the federal government in the classroom at the local level, which usurps the authority of the parents.
Absolutely. In fact, they are walking a questionable line because 3 federal statutes, and as we know, the 10th Amendment to the Constitution specifically says what has not been given to the federal government is reserved to the states. So this is really a tossing of federalistic principles right out the door. It's a compound republic. It's taking away the very notion of how our country was organized. Power in the states, the federal government usually general oversight, but leaving matters of direction to the states and ultimately to the individuals, because ExxonMobil, Google, Pearson Education, corporations that have interests financially in Common Core do not know best what there is for a child's education. As a parent, that is where the knowledge starts, and that's what we have to impart.
I think when a lot of mothers and fathers find out what's in, for example, the suggested reading and Common Core, it causes a ton of concern, as it should, because of just the questionable nature of this. What can a mother do, a dad, when they find out about this and they feel alone, they're in the community, they're seeing this material? What is something that they can do at the community level?
Well, the first thing they need to know is really that the academics for Common Core are entirely subpar. If we were dealing with a program that elevated us nationally, that really used something like Massachusetts, whose ELA standards were the highest in the nation, or California's math standards, which were the highest in the nation, I think there would be less discussion about it, aside from the issue of federal governmental overreach. Unfortunately, you're dealing with the worst possible case scenario with the academics. English has removed 50% of classic literature in favor of scientific and technical and trade documents. Suggested readings include federal orders on soil conservation and management. And really what it does is it's eliminating exactly what we study in English, which is the art and the artistry and the concept of a communicated idea. It goes right out the window with English. Now we're focusing on the actual text, and it's not sending our children anywhere.
Well, Sarah, what has happened as a result of this, and I've watched across the country, a grassroots movement has been started by parents who said, wait a minute, these are my kids. I'm interested in their future, not some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. And for good reason, because the battle surrounding Common Core and a take-back of this federal-led educational trend is starting from the bottom up. In fact, Indiana, the first state to repeal Common Core whole cloth, was really started by 2 mothers who formed an organization called Hoosiers Against Common Core. They had an idea in one of their kitchens, and they decided this is terrible academics, and eventually got a bill to the State House, which was signed by Governor Mike Pence. And then in short succession, 4 states followed thereafter, and we obviously know what's going on in Louisiana. So this is the power of the individual, and particularly the mother. Ernie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, said once, well, this is just white suburban moms who don't really feel pleased about what little their children know. And now you're getting it all the way up in blue state New York, where the teachers and parents are saying, get our kids out. So it really is a grassroots movement that works.
It looks like these soccer moms are kicking more than soccer balls.
They certainly are.
Well, this is an issue that we need to be concerned about when it comes to election, because we're talking about limiting government. And we need to elect individuals who understand the proper role of government.
Absolutely.
And I think another question is, back to why it's important to vote. Because again, if you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter who you are, a student, you can make a difference. Like those two mothers in Indiana, it's amazing and exciting. Another question, as we go into our next segment is, what about midterms though? Why are midterms important? Why should we? Why is it important this November 4th, not just waiting till 2016?
Right, you're right, Lila. A lot of folks, Sarah, think, well, there's no president on the ballot, so I don't need to go vote. Right. Wrong answer.
Right.
Because first off, every election is important. And for those of you who are only concerned about maybe fiscal issues, it's those off-year elections where they hide the taxes. So I encourage you to vote in every election. But the midterm elections are important because this is where we elect members of Congress, and there are several key Senate races across the country. And this is a way you can send a message to Washington, D.C. by electing those individuals who, number one, reflect biblical values, but also understand the Constitution and the limited role of government. So, Sarah, we're so glad that you're with us tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of our webcast tonight and the work you're doing on Common Core.
It's inspiring. Thank you.